Hello to everybody watching this. My name is Banna, and today you're on the 7th episode of the Booming with Banna podcast. We're slowly creeping up to the number 10 mark, and I think the best way to get there is with another stellar guest on today's episode. Meet Abdullah Zahid, licensed dentist and now turned amateur tennis player and content creator.
Hi, Ahmed. Thank you so much for having me.
Honestly, it's a pleasure for me. It's amazing to see people like you not only voice sports to an audience, but specifically an audience that I noticed is you have people from ages from, as young as me, 16, and as old as 23, 24, right? So I think that's a big thing. And it's also tennis, right? Which is not a sport you hear as often as football or basketball or any of these other things. So I'd want to start off. I just want to ask, was tennis a passion from a young age?
I wouldn't call it a passion. Honestly, how I got into tennis, it was from a young age. I'm not sure, honestly, about the number, but it was a coincidence, honestly. I was in this sports club with my elder brother, and we used to go swim. We went into karate, went to taekwondo and everything. And every day while going out of the club, we see the tennis courts empty. And we had this question every time we go out and see them, why no one is playing tennis? So it picked up from there. I'm a self-taught tennis player. I'm a self-taught tennis coach and everything. So I was never with a coach until in my 20s in the university. So it started from there. I wouldn't call it a passion. It was just a sport. It was a hobby and everything. Then I stopped tennis for a while. I stopped for like 6, 7, 9 years because my elder brother, he traveled to study abroad. Then I was not very social, so I had no one to play with. So I stopped tennis and I went into the gym and bodybuilding and everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm built like this, not so much as a tennis player. Then I started coaching tennis, or I went back to playing tennis when my elder brother came back from abroad because he continued playing tennis there. So I saw him playing with his friend and he said, just grab the racket and see where you are. And honestly, because I built and I put on muscles. Because I started tennis, I was overweight. I had no base as a tennis player, no base as an athlete. So because during the period I stopped playing tennis, I went into the gym, I built some muscles, so I'm moving better. Yeah. So honestly, I turned out a better tennis player than I was actually playing. So this sport is where made me really excited to come back to playing tennis again. So this was during the first years of dental school. I'm not sure, honestly, it was second, third year. When did I start or decided to start coaching tennis? During the last year of my dental school. So I used to save up my internship money, or internship, I don't know how to say it in English, honestly, مكافأة الامتياز, and spend from whatever I get from the tennis coaching. And I started alone. It was just 2,000 riyals budget. I had no experience as a tennis coach. I just used my background as a tennis player, and I gave that to the people I'm coaching, and started from there. And now it's been 5 years since I'm doing this. So I started coaching 2019. So here I am.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. One of the biggest things that I really like to focus on and like to hit on is a 2,000 riyals budget, right? Like this set, anything on this set is a lot more than that 2,000 riyals. So it's a very low number. From your experience, from what you've gone through, how did you manage to get that seed fund or that small fund and make it as big as it is today? Like, how can you take a small finance like that and make the most of it instead of go searching for more?
First of all, this budget was from my internship money. So it was only 2,000 riyals. Now when I look into all my other colleagues, they spent all of their internship. But for me, no, I still have it and even grow even more. So how did I turn 2,000 riyals into whatever it is today, whether it's how much the 2,000 became or where it led me? I believe, honestly, it's passion and doing what you actually enjoy. Because what's better than being paid for the thing that you love? So I'm doing sports and I'm doing a sport that I love. So I'm being healthy, I'm moving, I'm burning calories and everything. So this is where the value is. And because it's rare, you don't see a lot of Saudi tennis players. Because all the coaches that I used to see, they were from abroad. Yeah. So I used to see them and I was like, no, why don't I start doing that?
Yeah. And I think it's a lot nicer, especially in your home country, that there's homegrown talent, right? To see something like this flourishing. And when I look, I used to play tennis, right? And I did training with those that did come from abroad. But one of the things I also love doing, and I still love today, is football, right? And when you go to most football training areas, it's completely changed. It's all يعني, Saudi-grown talent. It's all talent that's from this country. And I think that's one of the best things for yourself to really create that for yourself. And you're coaching, so you're putting that into others.
Exactly.
With this coaching, right, it comes with a lot of people skills, with how you talk to people, how you manage that, how you teach. Teaching is a very big thing, right? What's something you've noticed that, let's say, flew past you in school, whether it's high school, university, dental school, but when you started teaching yourself, you were like, this is a unique thing that I need to focus on
A unique thing in me or in others?
in others. So if I'm in a classroom today, I'm learning, and the teacher does this one thing. Like he always tells the class this one thing or this teaching style. I don't notice it until I become a teacher. So what's something you think, Yani, you haven't noticed before, but now that you're teaching others, it's more apparent and you realize it more?
Yeah, I honestly believe it's different because I have never been coached before as a player, whether it's a tennis player or whether it's in the gym. This only happened with after my 20s. So honestly, I did not notice anything, but the only thing that I noticed, because tennis is a very hard sport, so you need to think and focus on a lot of things on the same minute. So you can't tell your student 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things on the same time, because you grab the racket, you stand a certain way, you bend your knees, how you hit the ball.
Yeah.
So you have to focus on only one or two things, and that's it. Yeah. So maybe in dental school there was the same thing. Like the teacher, when they used to tell me, just hold the handpiece here. Dentists will understand this, the handpiece, a certain way. So maybe when you handle it this way, it helps you do other stuff. They don't tell you the other stuff. They just tell you, grab it this way.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in tennis. Like in tennis, I could tell you, just use this grip, because this grip helps you do other stuff to the ball, but I don't tell it to my student. So they just think about the grip and that's it.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a way I could like connect.
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot about that in specific, where it comes to, like, whether it's my parents or my teachers, they'll tell me the piece of advice. They don't tell me what it will lead to, right? And then you figure that out like during the process itself. And I think that's one of the greatest things, is to not know what's coming for you.
Yeah.
Which leads, like, it also leads to this next part is, did you see this as a thing? Like, if you went back 10 years, did you see coaching become a part of your life?
If I went back 5 years, I would not see it as a part. Like during my dental school, my biggest goal was to become an endodontist, like a well-known endodontist and everything. And I would not ever accept staying at the general dentist. No, I wouldn't accept that. See where I am today. Like I have been on TV, I have been on podcasts just because I did this shift. But if you ask me, would you go back and do it all over again? I would do it all over again. Because if it wasn't for dentistry, I wouldn't be the person I am today. If it wasn't for, let's say, struggle, because struggle just shapes you into whoever you are. If there was not this struggle, I wouldn't have taken this path.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I think also when it comes to sports, when we come and talk about sports, one of the biggest things is struggle. Whether you've lost a final, or whether you missed the penalty for your team, or you missed the layup in basketball. Another big thing that I notice is struggle, right? So you've said that dental school, it's helped shape it's helped that struggle, it's built you up to the person you are today, and how that impacts your business and this other things. So for other people going through the same level of struggle, whether it be with their friends or in school or with family or any other character shaping scenario or event, what piece of advice would you give them?
If there is no struggle, there is no progress. And through struggle, like let's say you're climbing a mountain, if you're not actually struggling to pull yourself up every time, there is no progress. So you have to actually struggle while pulling yourself up to actually go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things that I constantly struggle with, especially with like this podcast and classes and other things, is I have a big issue with time management, right? Anybody that like goes on your profile, from the morning, right? You're doing different things, whether it's gym, whether it's coaching, playing tennis, at paddle. So it's clear that you have a way with time management, right? And with a lot of our generation, and myself included, and maybe everybody else, we tend to procrastinate and put things to the last second.
Yeah.
from your experience, from what you've done, what are ways that we can alleviate this now?
So honestly, I myself struggle with time management, but the biggest thing that really helped me is doing a task list. A task list. So doing a task list helps you. Like you have a certain tasks every day. You just check every day. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, I open this task list. I see what I have to do today, and just take it one by one. So I don't, try not to think about the whole thing. I just try to take it one by one, and this really helped me honestly. Not every day will have the same energy. Like not every day you feel 100%. But let's say if today you had the energy of 30%, but you finished one task, that's 100% progress still. So whatever your energy is. And honestly, being on this podcast, I'm trying not to be that person where thinks that he's successful and trying to tell people what's right and what's wrong. I'm just trying to share with them my journey.
Your story.
Yeah, that's it.
That's amazing, honestly. Because like in a world with all this social media, all these TV shows, everything like this, it's important for transparency, right? So it's amazing. I think also when you hold yourself accountable, it's a pretty big character trait, right? So with what you've said, with the task lists, with time management, all this sort of stuff, I think I can relate to that in a sense because I've tried, like I've gone through this, and one of the things that I picked up on, right, is when I do my task list, I do it from the morning. I plan the day before, right, what I want to do. So this. And what you said that I really seriously struggle with is you take it one at a time. I noticed my problem and other people's problems is when you see the amount of work you have to do, you become demotivated. You just don't work at all.
This happens to me. Like, let's say, most of the week I feel demotivated. But at the end of the day, to be different from others and to actually reach your goals, you have to push yourself. Even if you push yourself just 20% of your energy and your motivation, you would still, at the end of the day, you gave 100%. Right? And trust me, every day, most of the days of the week, I feel like I want to give up. I don't want to do this. But then you remember why you started, why you want to be different. Like, mashallah, you're 16 years old and you're doing what you're doing. If you look around you and you see others your age or even older than you, they're not doing anything. Every day passes like the other day. Like every day they're not progressing to becoming better, to adding value to yourself. I have read something and I shared it on my story a few days ago. Someone asked me, Abdullah, how do I become confident? I told him, you become confident by doing stuff that adds value to you. Like today I went to the gym, I lifted this dumbbell, let's say 20 kilograms. This is something adds value to you. Today I did something hard. This adds value to you. So you go outside knowing what you're capable of doing, what you wake up every day doing. So this adds value to you. So with that, you become confident because you know what you bring to the table. Like, let's say we're sitting on this table, and this table has 4 legs. So when you sit with your friends on this table, you think of yourself as an added leg to this table. Yeah. So this is what adds value to you. So for that, you feel confident.
Yeah, so confidence really comes from your... Would you say confidence comes from your abilities or from your accomplishments, or from both?
From both, but mostly from your accomplishments.
Right.
That you do things adds value to you. I'm confident. No one is born confident.
Yeah.
Most people fake their confidence, or most people actually earn this confidence because they did a lot of stuff.
Yeah. With this sort of confidence, like with us like talking about this, a lot of people bring up that it can create a blurry line between being a confident person and being an arrogant person, right? So there's a very thin, blurry line when it comes to this matter. Where do you stand on this, and when do you think confidence turns into arrogance or having an ego?
You know, most of the things that I'm really afraid of is I'm afraid that if I grow as the person, or I grow in what I'm doing, this is something that I always pray for. Please God, no matter how successful I become, I don't want to become arrogant. Even if I don't mean it, even if just the idea of people think that Abdullah is arrogant, and actually people now, they think I am. But when they meet me, they say, no, you're not. So this is one of the things that I'm really afraid of. And honestly, it's very hard. Because we're people. So if you become famous, if you become successful, if you become wealthy, it's very hard not to become arrogant. Yeah. So honestly, This is something that I pray for literally every day. Please God, if I become successful, I don't want to become arrogant, because there is there's nothing worse than you becoming a successful person, wealthy and everything. But trust me, if you were a tower, so nothing breaks down this tower, despite everything else you have, except arrogant. So maybe you become a good-looking guy, wealthy, successful, but you're arrogant.
It means nothing.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
So it's very hard. It's very hard to, let's say, separate both things. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, even with what you say, like people like think you're arrogant and then they meet you and then they're like, oh, you're not arrogant. I think that's another like big trait in how others perceive you, right? So someone doing something big, right? Whether it's in sports or in something else, a lot of people know they're not arrogant, but they label it as arrogant, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to make it seem, they want to put down or bring down on this person. They don't want to make them, they don't want to give credibility to the person they've become today,
Because
right?
they're jealous.
Right?
Most of the time they're jealous.
Yeah. For people who are jealous, how do you react? How do you interact with these people? People who are jealous of your accomplishments, don't like to see you succeed, don't like to see what you're doing. How does someone react? Whether it's in school, whether you get a good grade and then the person next to you, the person next to you, they've got this, they don't like it for you. They don't want this for you, right? They're jealous.
Yeah.
How do you battle something like this? Do you stop talking to that person? Do you cut them off? Do you continue with your life? How do you not only succumb to that hatred, right? But also help change that person as well. What would your approach on that be?
Honestly, I wouldn't help change them. Like Abdullah 2 years ago, I didn't use, I did not get to interact with people a lot until I became a tennis coach. And I'm part of dentistry as well. I became more social. I interacted with different people. So this has taught me, like, not everyone will want good for you, even your closest friends. So how I deal with that is I learned everyone has a different path for success. So let's say you want to build the highest tower in Jeddah. So you have two options. The first option, you go and see all the towers, how tall they are. Let's say they are the tallest one or the highest building is 50 floors. So you have two options. One, you go and build a 51 level or floors tower. The other thing is you go and you destroy or break one floor from there and you build a 50 levels tower.
Right.
So most people, unfortunately, they have the other option. Destroying. So they wanna climb a mountain by destroying other mountains. They wanna grow by belittling others. So unfortunately, most people are like this.
What is that? Yeah.
So unfortunately, most people are like this. They take the other option, not the first one. So whenever I see someone jealous or whatever, خلاص, I remember they are this other type of people. Some people are not doing anything with their lives, and they want all the people around them to be like them. They're just trying to pulling you down where they are. So I honestly don't interact with them. I don't react with them. Until this day, I have a lot of people comment on my stories or reels or whatever. How come you're a tennis coach with this body? How come you're a tennis coach and you're not so much of a good tennis player? But I know where they are, and they don't know my story. They don't know how I started. I was self-taught. I did not have a base as a tennis player, no base as an athlete. The past 2 days, I'm trying to change this. I'm trying to actually build this base. I don't know if you saw my posts of the transformation.
I did, I did.
So just those past 2 years. And I learned a lot of things, and I became a better tennis player by coaching people. They always tell you, if you want to master something, teach it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So honestly, I don't interact with them. And it's either how I deal with them is like most of them are people are not I don't know. They're not my friends. They're not my family. So if they were my friends, I cut it off with them, honestly. And if my relationship with them is very shallow, I just make it salam alaikum, hi, how are you, and that's it. So I never sit with them, I never go out with them, and that's it.
Yeah.
And this, honestly, the more I grow, the more it happens. The more I grow, the more I succeed. I don't want to use the word succeed, because I don't like giving myself credit. I always try to stay humble, honestly. So the more I become better in what I'm doing, the more I see those types of people. They want to just pull me down. And honestly, most of them are really close people. Most of them are people that, from the first intentions, I thought they were good people.
Why is it close people that you find most of them? Why are they the close people?
Why are they the close people?
Like you wouldn't expect your friend or your family or your cousin to belittle you or to look at you in a certain way. But you're right. Like more often than not, it's the people closest to you. Do you have any insight on why it's those closest to you?
You know why? Because let's say uh, most people, they don't want to take that extra step. Like let's say you're in the gym, you can squat 50 kilograms. Your friend, he also does the same thing, but you want to challenge yourself and go for the next one. But your friend is okay with it. Like your friend is just okay with being an employee with a salary and that's it. But no, you want to take that risk to build your own business. So some people, maybe it's not hate, it's not jealousy. Maybe they want you to be just like them, just because you're friends. So let's do things the same way.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
I also think it gives people a sense of shame, and I noticed this not in like from a personal background with my family when so looking at my parents, right? They're immigrants. They came to this country, and they came from places where you would never imagine that their son would be in this school. Yani, alhamdulillah, they would never have seen this stuff. You go back 20 years, they would never have pictured this, right? And what comes from it as a result is really people who tell them, why are you wasting your money on this stuff? Yani, why are you still here? Come back to Egypt, come back to your family, that sort of stuff. And my family's been persistent, like, no, we're gonna stay here. And with the people looking down upon them and saying these certain things, I think one of the biggest reasons that I've noticed, for that matter,
Yeah.
is they both started from the same place, but one person made themselves over here. And I think that's the biggest thing. Is a lot of this belittling, jealousy, hatred, it comes from the closest people. What I notice is it's from those who started at the same level as you, but you took the extra step.
Exactly.
And they don't, so there's a difference, and this is what I've noticed. There's a difference. There's a friend that takes that step with you. And then there's the friend who wants to stay and doesn't care, or the friend that wants to pull you down.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've noticed. So then, when it comes to meeting a person for the very first time, what characteristics or qualities do you think makes them a good person or potentially a good friend? What would you look for, but not as a friend like here and there, but as a person you've committed to the future, to someone you want to work with on stuff? So what are a few qualities that you look in strong friends?
Strong friends. Okay. Friends that support you and actually are happy for your accomplishments, your success, and everything. Friends who are there for you, not necessarily physically, but emotionally as well. Like today, I had this like I told some friends today I have this podcast. Not all of them reacted the same way. Some of them they ask which podcast. I told them Booming with Banna. Some of them were like, okay, it's a new
Yeah.
it's a new podcast. Why isn't other podcast? Some were like, yes, good job. This is a good start and everything, and maybe you will be the reason to help this kid. You're not a kid. You're a grown up.
Teenager,
mashallah.
yeah.
No, you're not. Mashallah. You have the mindset and the personality of someone who is way older than you. Mashallah. Maybe you will be the reason to help this kid actually boom.
Yeah.
So see, it's different how they react.
Yeah.
But honestly, there is no, I would say, how can I say this? There is no one trait you can find in all friends. Every friend is different. One friend, he's there for you, he or she there for you emotionally, but not necessarily always physically. But the other one, emotionally, maybe they're not so good, but they're good physically. So everyone has this different way of expressing their love, their friendship, and everything. So honestly, the most important thing for me is listening. They listen. They listen to what I say, then they react.
I agree with a lot of the stuff you're saying. And not just that I agree, I think for viewers or listeners who like my main audience primarily, one of the biggest things that like the goals of this podcast is I want to give back to the community, right? Is I've noticed a pain point as Mr. Abdullah Elias says it, he calls it a pain point, and it's a common phrase where there's an issue with your market, right? But my market is is my generation, and like the issue that I found is there needs to be guidance, and usually the guidance, if we get it from an older person, we tend to brush it away because they're not in our '07, '08, '06, right? We're like they don't know what I'm going through, but using this to really megaphone and put it out there to those people is one of the biggest things. And like you said, with your coaching, you're giving back to people. And then there are friends, when they listen, they give back to you. So I would then ask, how important is giving back to three things? To business, giving back like in a monetary, like in terms of communication, finances, giving back. How important is that?
Yeah.
With your network, so this is people all across the world, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And lastly, with the people you love. Giving back, where do you think it plays out in those three areas?
In tennis or in life generally?
So in those like so business would be like your tennis, right?
Okay.
And then for your network, the people you know generally, and then the people you love, your friends and family. Where does giving back play a role?
Okay. If there is the biggest thing that I have learned from dentistry or from being a doctor or a caregiver is God gave you the knowledge, this knowledge, and this trust of the community. One very important role as a dentist or a caregiver, you have to give back to the community for free. So the business part is I'm coaching tennis and I'm being paid for it, right?
Yeah.
So this is not giving back to the community. The giving back is trying to create content, trying to create community gatherings. This is where giving back. So I'm giving back my time, my energy, my knowledge, my platform for free for the tennis community in order for it to grow. Because a lot of people, they don't have access to tennis because tennis is known to be expensive. It's an expensive sport. It's a sport of the wealthy, tennis and golf. And we don't have a lot of courts here yet.
Yeah.
And everything. So nowadays I'm treating myself as I'm not treating myself as a tennis coach recently because as a tennis coach I feel like I have reached a level where I should just pause, because for me to grow as a I have a level 1 PTR tennis coaching. I took it online. So in order to grow as a tennis coach I have to take level 2 and 3. So to be able to do that I have to travel, so I don't have the time and the money for that, or to build my own academy and with my coaches that coach under me, and also I don't have the money for that. So now Abdullah, the coach, pause for a while. So now I'm trying to grow as a community helper or a community giver. So I'm trying to help whoever gets into tennis, whether it's an adult or a kid, but mainly the next generation, the 10 and under people. I want to help make their journey a better journey than the one I had, because honestly my journey was not very good as a tennis player, as a tennis coach, or even as a tennis fan. So I'm trying to put all of this with the platform, with the knowledge, with the time, with the energy to just help those people.
Yeah.
So this is my main goal, maybe for the next 1 or 2 or 3 years, honestly. So I'm treating myself as Abdullah, the community giver and the content creator. So in the beginning, content creation on my page was just to market for myself because I want clients to come and being coached. But now mainly content creation for me is just to help people. Like I believe throughout just my page, you can learn tennis. Like for every shot, I have the grip, how you stand and everything, and tips to become better, whether you're a beginner or intermediate or an advanced player. So this is where, for me, Abdullah, giving back stands.
Would you say a main goal would be to make this sort of learning for free in the future?
Yeah, if I had the access to, I would.
Yeah. And when you noticed, you said your focus is on like the people that are 10 and under. With that, I want to shift onto a more like national scale. Where do you see Saudi Arabia going as a country in sports in general, and then specifically in tennis?
Yeah. I believe we have all seen what's happening in football. Now people from all around the world, they watch the Saudi Football League. Like 5 years ago, no one known about any Saudi player. But now with everything that is happening, with the growth, with the investment, the sports in Saudi Arabia in general, it's growing. I have been coaching since 2019, and the number of tennis players, it's growing. And the number of coaches as well, Saudi coaches, they are growing as well. And honestly, we have a lot of talent. Like 2 months ago, we saw I believe the 10 and under or the 14 and under Saudi national team. They won the Gulf Cup or the Gulf League, and honestly, they won all the matches 6-love, 6-love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the group of kids they are really talented. Like when you watch them, they are playing like adults. Like we used to see this before only on YouTube. Like we see a kid that is 5 years old. Like how he's 5? How is he doing this?
Yeah.
You know. So now we're starting to actually see this, and honestly, there is talent in Saudi Arabia. I have had some clients. They're living in Najran. They're living in Al Qasim. It's not big cities. They don't have coaches. They don't have courts. But actually, they are good. They are good tennis players.
It's about giving the resources, really, the
They,
tools.
they don't have resources, and yet they are good. So this tells you if you had the resources, we had the courts, we had the coaches, we would really have like a tennis generation that could win tournaments. And now we're seeing all the growth. Like now we're hosting the ATP Next Gen the next 5 years until 2027. The first one was the last year. Now we're having the WTA the next 3 years. We've had a lot of exhibition tournaments, like in Riyadh in December, we had the Djokovic versus Alcaraz, we had Sabalenka versus Ons Jabeur. So now people are noticing that there is a movement in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to a lot of what the country is doing. There's a big movement in everything, right? In sports, or in
Exactly.
tourism, in entertainment. And
Mainly sports.
Yeah.
Despite the growth that's happening in sports, we're still way behind when you compare it to the States or whatever. We're still way behind, honestly. Especially when it comes to the athletic base. This is why I struggle with coaching kids, because when I try to teach them and develop the athletic base, like how do you run? Like some kids, they don't know how to run. How do you bend? How do you jump? Hand-eye coordination. How do you balance yourself? You walk in a straight line. The parent is like, Coach, we're here to learn tennis. We're not here to do this.
Yeah.
But this is the base.
The foundation.
Yeah, this is the foundation. Thank you. This is the word I was looking for. So yeah, we're still way behind, but it's growing. Like it's really growing.
How long do you think it would take until we reach the level of the West, the US, Europe, etc.? How long do you think it would take for Saudi Arabia to reach that level?
5 years, 10 years. Yeah,
still a while to go.
Yeah,
but there is progress. It's in a positive direction.
It's in a really positive direction.
Yeah. And with all that,
maybe less. You never know. Like we had some plans for Vision 2030, and we reach all the goals before that. Yeah.
Right.
Like they had a certain numbers of people that actually do sports before 2030, and in 2024 they reached the number. Now they increased the number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now there is a goal to increase the number of kids that playing tennis in schools to 60,000. Now we have 30,000. Like they said, it doubled since 2000, or even tripled since 2013. The number of kids or the number of Saudi players, it tripled.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. From the things that I'm seeing, honestly, so for like a bit of context, like a bit of story time, is at this school at AISJ, the American school, and all other international schools in Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East as well, we follow a format of tournaments called RSAC and SICAC. RSAC is the Red Sea Athletic Conference, and SICAC is the Saudi Arabian Intra-Kingdom Athletic Conference. And we do them for a lot of sports, right? Yani we do them football, basketball, always, every year. And then tennis is one of the more underrepresented sports, right? Like I think for the past 3 years, AISJ, we haven't had a tennis team, right?
Why, if I may ask?
Honestly, I think it has to do with in terms of, so the big thing with our school is we bring in the coaches are teachers who've done this at university, right? Teachers who are passionate about the sport. With tennis, we don't have a teacher. Like we had a teacher, but like she's like out for now. But we had a teacher, and we didn't have enough student demand. And I think we make the big mistake where we mix demand, like having demand and creating demand, right? So I know a lot of people, like when I did badminton for a while at the school, it's really like when a lot of people come to that gym 50 people or 40 people just to try out for fun, that's how you know you've created a demand. You want people to play, right? But in this school and other international schools, it's not as omnipresent. It's not as present as it is in other places. Like for example, the Kaust school up north, they have an extremely strong tennis team. They have a proper coach. They win tournaments, right? Because they've created the culture there, and they've created a demand for it there, right? So that's one of the issues that I find like outside of the national level. But I think it could be the next thing to step up Saudi Arabia's game. It's really focus on international schools, because these are the schools that will send people outside, right? Most of the time. It's these schools, like if you go downstairs, you'll find people going to the US, UK, Australia for university. You create passion in on this campus, they'll go and then they'll come back and pay you back. Pay you back how? They'll play for the country or they'll play for whatever it may be. And I think that's in my opinion, I think that's the biggest area of growth for sports in general, not just tennis, across Saudi Arabia, is really focusing on like the private sector in educational institutions. Because I think I've come to learn honestly is that a mentally strong mind, whether it's academics or clubs or whatever, is nothing if it's not coupled with a physical mind, with a physical body as well,
Exactly.
right? So that's why all the schools, they offer physical education, but it's not as, in my opinion, I think it's a great program, and our school's developing this as well. I mean, for AISG only, but I think taking it to the next level is something, I don't know, Ministry of Education or other places can do, taking it to the next level and making this a real thing. So these tournaments are private, right? I would think let's make these tournaments on a national scale. So instead of like, I know there's Saudi games happening in Riyadh,
Yeah.
have it between schools, create a league. Because this stuff, if you look at the United States, for football, for example, not a state, not a city, a county, a couple of towns here and there with different schools, they have a league, like Premier League table with
Exactly.
games away, home. We don't have this sort of stuff here in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East in general.
But you know why? You said it. There are no students. There's a lack of number of students that actually play tennis. Or okay, if there are students, there are no courts.
Yeah,
Like maybe in Jeddah, maybe the people that play tennis in Jeddah, maybe not even 500 people.
yeah.
And out of the 500, maybe most of them they're just playing tennis for fun, recreational sports.
Yeah.
They don't want to join tournaments and everything. Like
How do you think we can make it that way?
like
A competitive nature, right?
um there are there are no resources. There's no access. Most people they don't have courts. They want to play, but there's no courts. They don't know which racket is the suitable one for them, which grip size is the suitable one for them. So that's why I'm there on social media. I'm trying to do this. I have an account. It's called the Jeddah Tennis Community. And most people they think I made this account for myself. It's not for myself. I just my role was just to make it and it's there. So this account is for the people. So I want people to come and ask questions to help them answer them. Where can we go play tennis? Where can we go learn tennis? Where are the courts? Who are the coaches? What are the rates?
Yeah.
So we help them with that. We also help them when you go and play. Just film yourself, and we can post it on our page and everything. In Ramadan, we did the first Jeddah Tennis Community Gathering. We gathered on 2 courts. 98 people applied on 2 courts. Okay. The people that attended were like more than 70 people. We had 5 sponsors, and that's the number. And honestly, out of the 75, maybe 5 were actually good
Yeah.
tennis players. Because they knew the number will be big, so they not get a chance to play. But the main goal of this was just to introduce people to the community, because
Yeah.
most people they don't know the community. We also do like weekly, we do runs. We go and run. Most people they come and like, why don't you do community gathering on a tennis court? Why do we go run? Like, what's the connection? Or there's no relation between running and tennis. There is. Like, it's very important for you as a tennis player to
Be active,
no,
healthy.
not active.
Or
Like to work on your zone 2 heart rate. So this will help you in your aerobic or anaerobic?
oh no, yeah.
Right. So this will help you with your fitness level, with your stamina and everything. So of course it's very important. One of the players, Stanislas Wawrinka, he runs every day in the morning. He goes for a long run. So this helps him with his stamina. He's 38 years old.
Right.
So most people need more awareness. Like tennis is not just forehand and backhand and serve. No, there are some other stuff off court as well.
Yeah.
So what we really lack is awareness and courts. If there was both of these, tennis will grow. Just like what happened in paddle. We see paddle is the new trend because all the stuff are there. One, the community, the courts, the resources, the awareness, and everything. And that's it. But in tennis, no. Tennis in Jeddah, maybe we don't have the total of tennis courts we have in Jeddah is less than 10 courts. The one that you can easily access,
Yeah.
whether it's rent or other than that. The others, it's only private, whether it's homes or schools and everything.
Yeah.
I believe you have
Yeah.
how many courts?
4.
Before they were 8.
No, wait.
They were 8 or 7.
1, 2, 2, 2. No, I believe we have 4. It's no 4.
Maybe they turned
5.
the
No,
others
no,
into
no.
paddle.
6.
They turned the others into paddle.
No, I wish.
You don't have paddle court?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
But we have squash. We have a squash court.
Okay, nice. You know, the good thing about paddle is it made people curious about how hard tennis is or which one
Yeah.
is harder.
Right.
So now I have a lot of clients. They came from paddle because they were like paddle. It's very easy. And now people hate me for this. 2 days ago, someone wrote a comment on one of my reels. He said, "This makes me really laugh. People who say paddle is very easy." By very easy, it's when you compare the first time you go on a paddle court or tennis court for the first time. On a paddle court, you will find yourself hitting the ball
Yeah.
because it's not technique sensitive. This is the word I like to use. But tennis, it's very hard. It's
Yeah.
technique sensitive. But honestly, playing paddle professionally is very hard. Yesterday, I played paddle with 2 really good players, and I felt like I'm the worst player out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
And honestly, with paddle as well, I noticed because it's also compared a lot to badminton because badminton it's easy to start. You just hit it like
Yeah,
this, but it's hard to get good at the sport.
It's hard to
right?
play professionally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, and I think paddle, it's to begin not technique sensitive, but to really excel. I think technique's the most important part about the entire thing. And the same, I'm just applying the same thing to badminton as well, right? As we near the end of our episode, I want to leave you with one main question, right? If you could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, Novak Djokovic. So the big 3. And Kobe Bryant. And who would I say? The 5th one. Yeah, definitely Cristiano Ronaldo. Definitely.
Yeah. Those 5 people. And what do you think would be what's the biggest question you'd want to ask to all of them?
The biggest question?
Yeah, that you'd want answered from their experience from them. What would you ask them?
How come, despite all the success you have done, you still, at the end of each match, you say, I'm still a work in progress, and you're still hungry for more? Like, let's say Cristiano Ronaldo, when he came to Saudi Arabia, all the people were like, he will not play, he will just be on the bench.
Yeah.
But now, he's the best
Performing,
player.
yeah.
He's the best player in Saudi Arabia.
And there is this one quote I read. I forgot who it came from. It was it said that it's hard to make your first $1 million, but the second million are inevitable. It's gonna happen anyways because it's not about the goal of making $1 million. It's the person you become on how to make those $1 million. So applying that to sports or grades or whatever, it's about how when you're passionate for a sport and you're how to become better, every time you continue, whether you're at the top, you still want to become better, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things that we can take away from because when you look at, let's say, school, for example, right now, we have final exams, and for those final exams, we have mock preparation exams before with like 2-3 weeks, right? Some people, they score excellent on the practice exams, right? Then they slow down, right? They slow down, they don't go back, they don't review, they relax. And then when it comes to the real test, they don't perform at the same level. And just mirroring that with sports, with things that the listeners or viewers might find more relatable, it's, I think, the biggest takeaway from, I think, today's episode for me, and I hope these guys took away as well
I hope.
is don't stop.
Yeah.
Like whether it's from your friends or your family, or whether it's your own consciousness that's telling you you're good enough, you're not good enough. It's to keep going, to keep striving for that best, because that's the only way that you can, I think, achieve contentment with who you are.
Yeah. And also, whenever you are put in a situation where you can help, just help. Whatever. Because you never know. Because what you give, there's this saying I read a few days ago. What you give, you get back multiplied. Even the smallest thing, like a smile, one word, like maybe just today, just because I said, yes, Ahmed, I will come on the episode. So if you, on any day, on any situation, you're put in a situation where you could be helpful, just help. Even if it was with a smile or with a word or anything, because you will get it back multiplied. If not tomorrow, if not 1 year after, not 10 years after, it will come. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to end off the episode on an amazing note, an amazing message is help out, small or big. It will come back to you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will come back, and it will come back multiplied. Thank you so much, Abdullah,
Thank
for
you.
coming here today.
Thank
It's
you
been
so
an
much.
honor to have you on here, and I hope the viewers and listeners really took away the central messages of today's episode. Thank you guys for listening or viewing. Hopefully this will come out. Hopefully the coming episodes come out consistently, every 2-3 weeks. Make sure if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, check it out. If you're on Spotify, like it, share it with your friends. Really spread the message, because here the main goal, inspire. That's the main goal for our generation. It's why we bring people like Abdullah and others that have been on the podcast before. We want to inspire the younger generation, because future, it's in our hands, and it's up to us to really see how we're gonna put that to play. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.